morning.
Good morning.
Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for allowing us to come together for the Sunday school. Father God, your word is our blessed. Just thank you for those who are here and those who are on their way. God, just bring everything back to my remembrance that I've studied. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Topic is generosity. God's generosity overcomes selfishness. Focal verses is Amos chapter 6, verses 4 through 8 and 11 through 14. Aim for change. By the end of the lesson, we will explore God's response to injustice as recorded by Amos. Feel righteous anger for ways people practice greed and selfishness, and discover ways God does justice amid injustice, and ways humans can join God in the fight against injustice. Legislature, can you read and focus on it, please?
In focus. Craig was a successful businessman who worked for a large corporation. He lived in a massive mansion with a 4-car garage in a gated community. Craig had attended several prestigious universities. The degrees he obtained helped promote Craig to a high position at his company. He quickly rose to an upper-level management position and had a huge office. Craig made over 7 figures each year in salary, not including his annual bonus. That's what I said. I would love that. He was living the good life. Craig's drivers would pick him up from his mansion daily and drive him to work. When the driver exited the highway, they typically drove through a poor neighborhood. Craig would often see people on the streets who looked as if they were homeless and suffering from different addictions. One day, as the car was approaching the office, Craig saw a young mother trying to walk her children to school. She was visibly struggling to push the stroller while tending to her 2 small children. Even though the scene caught Craig's attention, he chose to ignore the young mother and instructed the driver to proceed to the office. The question is that down below, it says, God invites us to participate in ending the injustices that oppress other humans. In today's lesson, we will learn how God desires radical generosity. What are some ways you practice generosity towards others?
Well, I practice generosity by giving. I donate clothes to those that need them. Um, Not only I donate, but I buy things for those who can't afford things that they might, need. I, give to the homeless. If they ask for money for food stuff, I buy food for them. I give them money for food. Those things.
Yeah, yeah. And then for me, because when you think about the description,
I'm also taking in,
also,
homeless, people that need the shelter. I've also taken them into my home and given them shelter when it was possible.
so with that, when you think about it and you think of alms is that it's those things that you do for those, along the way, not necessarily in a type of setting or anything. And a lot of times you find yourself doing things, you're a generous person, and you don't even think about until now you may consider like, what do I do to be generous? And when you go over the recess of your mind, you find that, especially if you're functioning according to the way that the word has told us and instructed us, you find that you're more generous than you even are aware of because, your heart is in that direction. I know for me, just being for me to give, I just like giving of service, like things that I have that are like innate, whatever gifts and talent. I want to give of myself. I like giving gifts and different things like that, but sometimes that can become superficial if it's not given in the right spirit. but it takes being in a certain place to be able to see someone that is in need and you in a position, like you said, opening your doors and, maybe they might not need to stay long. They just need maybe a week or two or whatever, just get on your feet and you have it. And it's like, okay, you give it like that. And understanding that, it'll come back, but not given because of the fact that it'll come back. It's just something that you do. So yeah, generosity is really important.
And sometimes, even if you may not have to give, but sometimes just um, being able to direct them
Right, resources.
to research, right, assisting them to get the help that they need because you may not be able to get, but you know what? Let me make some phone calls for you. Let me help you get to this person and make some phone calls and direct. Because that's even, help with the resource because they may not have a phone, they may not even know where to start.
Right.
But just making connections for the person. And you just never know. Look, you know what? Let me give you to Evangelist April, and then because she knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and we take it from there.
Yeah,
And so you just and that's and I do that a lot too. Just give women, what I got a number.
yeah,
Let me go on my phone. Let me make a phone call. Call somebody.
yeah,
And so you network with somebody, you call. So it's just a little thing that we look at it as a small thing, but for somebody else it's a big thing because we don't know where they are in their situation. You know what I'm saying?
right, yeah,
And so, so we don't even take it for granted. My daughter always said, "Mom, you always speaking to people. You always knowing about." You always tell me. I was like, well, you always helping. I'm like, well, that's who I am. That's how I was raised. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
That's what my grandma did.
Right.
That's how we were raised up,
Right.
always helping, and that's all. That's what I know, and so,
Right.
and that's what I do. And I don't know any stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's what I grew up seeing. My great grandmother, even in Virginia, from being down south, and even my grandmother here, and we may not have a pump, but you could always come and get a meal.
Right, right.
And she never turned nobody away. And that's well, whatever I am, you're welcome to it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it was. My grandmother could make you anything. She could take that chair cover and make you a dress out of it. Because that's how she was. She would cut up a coat and make a dress, a coat, a skirt, or something out of it. Because that's how she was. So it was, and that's so it was instilled and from a young age, just seeing it, and so you just pass that on, and that's why I try to get her to see it, and she may not see it now, but as she get older, she will start to see it,
Right.
Because see, they look and they talk and they watching. So as she gets older, she'll start, because you know how we see our children and they start to regurgitate the stuff that we told them, or you hear, oh, they weren't paying attention, but then you hear regurgitated to their friends or somebody else, so they're listening and watching.
Right.
They might say it looks corny or whatever, but then they find themselves, you know what?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, so.
That's how they've been raised.
Brother Wood, you want to say something?
And that, well, same thing. I grew up in I grew up in a community where helping and looking out for each other was instilled in us from the time that we were young. And there just happens to be something that I never lost.
Right.
Any neighborhood that I'm in or any neighborhood that I visit or whatever the case may be, if there's a need that I can witness or somebody brings it to my attention, then I try to find a way to help them. Or like you said, if it's not material, then it's a resource or whatever the case may be. But I just grew up in a thing where I'm already comfortable that my needs are going to always be met, so I'm always looking out to see if I can be a help to somebody else. That's just a great thing.
That's how our neighborhood was, that's how our community was, it was always like that. And I mean, even down to the teachers, and our community and our schools, and And even now, some of the teachers are still around. And so, like, when we have our homegoing, so like people that I never put, some of the teachers are still around and they still come out. We're still friends with, like, they literally came, they're like family, and like, we're still like, how we talking now, that's how they're family. And so, and you don't have that camaraderie with the teachers today, with like how we had back then, you know. And so when the kids see like, hey, there was a teacher, yes, and see how that they come around, because that's how it was. It was a village, and once we left school, it didn't stop there, it spilled into the community. They came to the home, they sat with the parents when they talked, we had dinner with them, it just didn't end once we left the school. And see, and this is with the kids now. Once you leave the school, it's it, and that's why I try to with my grandson's teacher. I'm always, texting both, what more can I do? What did he, if he does something, let me know. Let his mother know. I mean, he's not a perfect kid, but he's a kid. So he's going to do things, Oh, he fell asleep in class. Okay, well, like he said one day he fell asleep. Okay, well, yes, I know he fell asleep, and he fell asleep because he woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning because he was in pain, and so when it was time for him to get up, he was up throughout the night because he had hurt his leg or something. But I explained to him why he fell asleep. It wasn't because he didn't go to sleep, but he woke up in pain at a particular time. But he goes to sleep because I put him, he got a set time to go to bed. And so then she was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. So, if you let me know what's going on, then I can let you know because, see, I know what's going on in my house. You understand what I'm saying? Because he ain't up all night. And so when he come and wake me up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I can tell you why he go to sleep in your class. Because he don't woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning because he's crying in pain. And I'm trying to nurse him and get him. But now he got to get up at 6:30, 7 o'clock. So now he's tired, So I said, so if he does, I said, just tap him. I said, I gave him some pain medicine, which make him, right. And so she was like, okay, I got it, no problem. But see, if you don't communicate with me, I can't communicate with you. But don't just assume he's falling asleep just because he falls asleep. Because there could be a week now, there's a day he might just want to go to sleep. But then again, say something, pluck him. Makai, wake up. But I'm still going to get on him. Because you go to sleep early enough when you shouldn't be falling asleep. All right, we'll write it on. Keep in mind, shall horses run upon the rock, will one plow there with oxen? For ye have turned judgment into gall, and the fruit of righteousness into hemlock. Okay, that was the King James Version. I'm going to read the NLT. It says, can horses gallop over boulders? Can oxen be used to plow them? But that's how foolish you are when you turn justice into poison and the sweet fruit of righteousness into bitterness. Wow. Okay. Local version. And this 6:4. That lie upon beds of ivory and stretch themselves upon their couches, and eat the lambs out of the flock, and the calves out of the midst of the stall, that chant to the sound of the viol, and invent themselves instruments of music, like David, that drink wine in bowls and anoint themselves with the chief ointment, but they are not grieved for the affliction of Joseph. Therefore now shall they go captive with the first that go captive, and the banquet of them that stretch themselves shall be removed. The Lord God hath sworn by himself, saith the Lord, the God of hosts. I abhor the excellency of Jacob and hate his palaces. Therefore will I deliver up the city with all that is therein. For behold, the Lord commandeth, and he will smite the great house with breaches, and the little house with clefts. Shall horses run upon the rock? Will one plow there with oxen? For ye have turned judgment into gall, for the fruit of the righteous into hemlock. Ye which rejoice in a thing of naught, which have we not taken to us horns by our own strength? But behold, I will raise up against you a nation, O house of Israel, saith the Lord, the God of hosts, and they shall afflict you from the entering of the Hemeth until the river of wilderness. So I read NLT, please.
How terrible for you, which you all from Ivory, how you gave and life on your couches, eating the meat of tender lamb from the flock, and of choice calf fattened in the big stall. You sing triple songs, love songs, to the sound of the harp, and fancy yourselves to be great musicians like David. And you drink wine by the bowlful, and perfume yourselves with fragrance, lotions, and you care nothing about the ruin of your nation. Therefore, ye will be the first to be led away as captives. Suddenly, all your parties will end. The sovereign Lord has sworn by his own name, and this is what he, the Lord God of heaven, aims say. I despise the arrogance of Israel. I hate their fortress. I will give this city and everything in it to their enemies. When the Lord gives the command, when God gives the command, home, both great and small, will be smashed to pieces. Can horses gallop over boulders? Can oxen be used to plow them? But that how foolish you are when you turn justice into poison and the sweet fruit of righteousness into bitterness. And you brag about your conquest of labor, to bear, Lodebar, and boast. Didn't we take Carmel by our own strength? O people of Israel, I am about to bring an enemy nation against you, say the Lord, God of heaven. Amen. They will oppress you throughout your land, from Labar, Abraham in the north to the Arad Valley in the south.
The people faces a time, viol. The viol reference in Amos 6:5 King were instruments similar to a harp or lyre. They were often used in temple worship and had 10 strings. You'll find that in Psalms 33, verse 2. The Hebrew word is also used for bottles or pitchers, probably because they had the same conical or triangular shape. They were plucked by hand instead of a pick and were mainly used during times of feasting and celebration. Ointments in biblical times, people used ointments for medicinal, cosmetic, and even religious purposes. These ointments serve the purpose of not only healing the skin, but also masking odors. They were similar to our modern lotion and made the skin glisten. Rubbing ointments on the body may often done in preparation for a festival and was a mask of sanctification. Oils or ointments were also used to prepare bodies for burial, and they marked various types of leaders as ordained by God, priests, prophet, kings. They could signify both luxury and holiness. Hamath to the river of the wilderness. Hamath was situated on the Ornitz River and was the northern boundary of ancient Israel. Hamath represented the furthest north you could go before you venture outside of Israel. You can find that in Numbers 13, verse 21. The river of wilderness was a desert and wadi or brook that ran through the Arab Valley, which was a barren depression on the southern side of Dead Sea. The brook flowed on the border of Moab and Edom. The river of the wilderness represented the furthest southern border of undivided Israel that could be inhabited. Thus, the phrase Hamath unto the river of the wilderness encompassed the entirety of the undivided kingdom of Israel. Background. The upper crust of Israel had become very complacent and comfortable with their wealthy lives. They were secure in the strength of their army and able to maintain a certain lifestyle that made them oblivious to the world around them. Those in leadership believed that Israel's cities were superior to others because of their extravagant and materialistic luxuries. They had become so focused on their wealth that they had forgotten those who were suffering and less fortunate. What does that sound like?
Here, now, we living
Mm-hmm. Right?
in- exactly.
Sound like the sound.
Yeah.
Nothing new under the sun, right? Israel had forgotten that God had blessed them tremendously over the years. God had delivered them from oppression and shown them favor. Unfortunately, they sinned against God by rejecting his call to love and obedience. They had also sinned against God by oppressing others and therefore violating his law. Exactly what they're doing today.
Yeah,
I heard your prayer. Pray for our own of those present. Yep, that's what they're trying to do. Israel's blatant disregard for others and overindulgence in their wealth angered God, provoking his wrath. It's coming. Amos proclaimed prophecies from God that convict leaders for a lack of social justice and warning them of the day of the Lord when judgment will come to Israel. He had opposed the nation's sins and had encouraged them to repent for their evil and unjust ways. However, Israel had refused to turn away from their wickedness and remember the God they worshiped when they were in bondage. They were at risk for God's divine punishment. What? That don't sound like the situation.
I was going to pray about them, but they don't even know that they're praying.
Exactly.
That's how they have.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. See, he sitting up there and he
Goes
goes
so
in
far,
and,
that's
you know, talk to the mic.
I'm sorry. I think one thing that sometimes we fail to look at and see what's going on, and we say that there's a lot that's going on, but where it really starts from, if you look at the government, they try to put it all on the people that's under them, but they're the ones. They're the ones that make the rule, and they approve something, but when they approve it, they already approved it, they're gonna get so much off the top. So it's only gonna go so far down, you know, and I was looking at a teacher, Carmel, Mr. Lee, black lady, the president, Kamala Harris, when they was, said that, with the second class people, or they're gonna help the person, people, to really to overcome, but what about the lower class people?
Like the middle. Yeah.
But the middle class, but what about those that were lower than?
Right, that's all he's
They
talking
got no, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But they think of themselves, this world thinks of themselves, the government, what's going on, whatever. And then when things does happen, or bad things, or they do something, they don't do anything to them. So my question is, how do you let somebody that did all they did, like Trump, still become president? If you would stop somebody that doesn't have an insurance or something, they're gonna lock them up.
Right.
Okay.
Injustice.
Injustice. You look at where you say favor, where is the generosity? Where does that? How far does that go? I mean, don't get me wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
It is wrong.
But some wrong just don't require what they do to people these days, right? In this world, this land, or something like that. There, So, and even on the job, sometimes I look at it, I go, does it have to be like that? Or you trying to show that you're flex your muscles? For what?
There's not equal justice. It's not justice for all. It's justice for you, but not justice for you. It's justice for him, but not justice for me. That's how it goes.
When you look at the lesson, you see what's same thing is going on now. Went back on, went back. It's going back there now. It's kind of happening more, but it's more ever prevalent, and it's more worse than what's really going on. But this is where we come in serving God. And even on the job, teacher, I tell the people, I don't care what they do, how strong they get, ain't nobody in this world will overpower God. And that's my belief, that's my hope. That's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay. And a selfish lifestyle. The rich leaders of Samaria completely turned all of their attention to their material wealth. They are consumed with a lifestyle that is rich, elegant, exquisite, lavish, and excessive. They are only concerned with a higher standard of living that requires the finest and best. From dining selections, fine clothing, wild parties, extravagant celebrations, grand mansions, and expensive skin cream, the influential people of Israel are accustomed to a lifestyle that only serves an elite class. Their lifestyle causes them to lose focus on real life issues around them. They are blind to the fact that as the elite become richer, the poor become poorer. Often when we experience an increase of wealth, we forget about God and the plight of others. The elite of Israel had only used their wealth for selfish and luxurious needs, forsaking those who were suffering among them. Amos declared an oath from the sovereign Lord that God is angry at their conceit and arrogant way of living. God holds the wealthy accountable for the use of their resources and whether they use it for the blessings of others instead of selfishness. Yeah, pretty much. And this is true. The wealthy don't care about the poor. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But what does the Bible say? The wealth of the rich is laid up for the poor. So those will get there, and they reap what they sow. I got Elon Musk in there doing what? He's in control of the treasury. Like he got everybody's information, and why? He done bought his way into the White House. You see that? Just because he got money. But see, that's dirty money. But you got dirty people playing. You understand what I'm saying? It's just dark, dirty. But wait.
I would say it's just, it's just like in the original story. After this young man obtained his wealth and lived in his mansion or whatever the case may be, and his driver would take him through a neighborhood all day long. it's a fact that you can't, on a personal level, stop all the injustices that you see.
Right.
But the part that struck me in the whole story was you see somebody actually struggling with young people on their hip, and there's nothing that you can offer to even be of any kind of service to them. That's how, and that's how our government treats the poor people. Why? Because they don't see them unless they're serving them some kind of way. They don't pay attention to them. They don't. If those in government had to pay for their medical, they would be more inclined to make sure that medical was available to other people.
Right.
If those in power had to go to the store and buy a $15 dozen eggs, they would be more inclined to do something about the price of eggs. You know what I mean? But because they, just like the story says, because they're sitting high and not having to look out their window, they don't see what's going on, so they don't necessarily care. But that's why it's important for us, churches, people, those that don't have that elite status. That's why we always have to keep making noise, be it write letters, be it, make those phone calls or whatever the case may be, to let the government not be allowed to just ignore us. Because just to walk past somebody that you see struggling, and like you said, if I can't stop, if I've heard stories that Evangelist April and Elder John had. This may have been a couple of years ago. You're riding somewhere, you witness an accident. I might not be able to stop and do something about the accident, but I can get on my phone and call 911 and let them know that the accident is there.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't just ride past and then make it a good story to tell somebody.
Video.
Yeah, and then make it a good story to tell somebody. And just what you just said right now. I'm always amazed when I'm watching these live action shots of tragedy. That means somebody standing there holding the camera,
But
but not offering no help.
No, there you go.
And that's how the government certain aspects of the government treats everybody. When you come in and you start wiping out, you shut down a whole health organization or a whole helping organization, that's because you aren't aware of anybody that needs kind of help.
That's right.
Or you don't pay attention to anybody that needs that kind of help. Yeah, and that's what happens. You have to, if you feel it, then you have sympathy or empathy for it. But if you don't feel it at all, you treat it like it don't exist. And it all comes around it, and it says it, in the Bible that you're gonna reap what you sow. While I'm sitting there thinking about kicking all the immigrants out the country, then I ain't scratch my head and find out who's gonna cut my grass.
Yeah.
And that's what the rich people fail to think about. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, hey, we're gonna raise my kids.
Exactly.
They don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it won't happen until they kick them all out, and then find out that they need them. And then at the same time, they won't even stop to look around their household to find out how many immigrants they have in their working for them, because just like they would say about it, because you're not like the other ones.
Right.
You're exactly the same as the other ones. But it'll come full circle in time. But at the same time, we as people, we can't become complacent and figure that if nobody else is doing nothing about it, neither should we. We always have to do whatever little bit we can, because reach one, teach one. That's the whole situation we can't lose sight of.
And that is something like Brother Wood was saying, because they didn't look at the full picture of it. I was down south, and I decided that there are certain places I would just, if I can, I'm staying away from them. Walmart being one of them. Y'all know how difficult that is. because most of us probably go into Walmart more often than not, and Target, but more Walmart in particular. So while I was down south, I had to go. John sent me on the run to go pick up some things. I don't know where nothing is. I know there's a Walmart. I'm going to Walmart. When I got there, it was 8:30 last week. Around this Saturday, 8:30 in the morning. It was just, it was empty. You know, I normally, and this is the first of the month, mind you. The carts are full, the lines are, there was nobody in the store. And when I say nobody, I'm talking about there were the people that probably were still working there. I didn't see no different people of nationalities, no Hispanics, no, none of them, you know, realizing how much they're in these spaces. Because a lot of them are working. Walmart hires people that have certain criminal backgrounds,
Right,
they can't get
right,
jobs
right.
other place. They hire people that may be undocumented, working on their papers. Well, these are the same people that they're gathering up. So now none of them are to be found. Wherever they are, they're not to be found. And the shelves were not full either. And this is just the beginning of us seeing what the impact of them being in the office for 4 years is going to look like. They still going through confirmation. I said, Lord Jesus. And you know, but no, it's not a joke. It's just scary because these people that's coming through are totally not.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like what they're set up to do is just, oh my God. That's why we have to pray. I was just noticing the airiness of the emptiness. If you're not paying
And
attention,
you know what? Also,
if you
you
don't
know,
pay,
Home Depot.
yeah, right. If you
You
don't,
know how they not giving the work and
yeah,
stuff?
they're not gonna be out there because they don't want to get swooped up.
Mhm.
So now you need a sink put in. You know, you go. I be telling people all the time, you need something done. Just go like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning,
Home
and you
Depot,
get
no
some,
one
and
wants
you
to
get
stand
your
out
work
there.
done,
Yeah.
right? And so with the shelves being empty, you know, that means it's just I have so many things that's going through my mind because I'm paying so much attention. Besides, you know, because we can be so spiritually minded where we're no earthly good and we cannot afford to not watch as well as pray. And I'm noticing, I'm like, where is that? Oh, you know, because they ain't getting all those immigrants as you think. They have protective agency. A lot of these cities are considered sanctuary states, and they may not be able to bring them into the church and stuff because they now decide they will come bust the church. But you can best believe this is a great big organization. Immigration has always been an issue. This ain't nothing new. But the way that they're going about it in terms of the cruelty of, and then most of the people that they're swooping up are the people that voted for them, so they feel tricked. But they have underground. They got some.
I thought they go back to the underground.
They got because they still got to get taught. They're not. The kids are not able to go to school because if they go to school, then they'll trace them back to their parents, and some of their parents are not documented. So now the kids are not going to school. Some of the teachers, you know, what they going to do? They hook up with the parents, and somehow they got to get. Some of the teachers are actually on the ground too because they might be here on a work visa. They may be on a school visa, still getting their documents while they going teaching and all that other stuff. So that, you know, like they have to build a whole new, they have to build a whole new world that nobody can know about for the next 4 years. And it's just, but I'm noticing the emptiness.
Underground world.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's a lot going on that's unseen, which is fine because you know God got it all under control. But you have a lot of people they're in hiding.
Yeah,
They're in hiding.
Just gonna come to this back. Put your wife on the boat, sit her back.
Yeah, himself.
Just that, you know, but and you know everything there is true, but so we just as people we just can't become complacent.
Right.
Because of the fact that they're doing, you know, we may never be in the presence of we may never be in the presence of a Donald Trump or whatever the case may be, but we're gonna be in the presence of Joe down the street that a sandwich will make his whole world. You know what I mean? And so we can't lose track of that. And that's and you know, so it's we can't be complacent and say, well, it's happening and I'm too small to do something about it. Because any little bit that you can do is going to be a help to somebody.
This is a good time to create too, because you know you have to come up with things that don't exist, and just like Brother Rick was saying, you know, like around your door, in your neighborhood, your next door neighbor, you know, they may be going through different things. You know, we can't no longer just pass people by and assume that everybody's okay, because they may not be all right. Yeah, well, yeah, right, because they're the ones that run those stores. So, you know, we are still here. We have to look out for, you know, and these are people that we are born here, but we still have to look out for our neighbor. I may look at my next door neighbor now who I never had to pay attention to
Right.
and see if, you know, you like breakfast, you need something to eat, you need some rice. You got to, you know, go back, I need some sugar. You need
Right,
sugar for my rice.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know.
Right, punishment for the self-indulgent. The Lord has promised to enact severe punishment on Israel because of their refusal to repent. God will not only punish individuals, but plans to completely destroy the houses and buildings. The prophet explains that God will punish them because they twisted justice into a poison, doing more harm than good. God mocks Israel for their prideful celebration over smaller cities that they had successfully conquered. Finally, their ultimate judgment is given as God announces that another force will be raised up against them to return the oppression that they have inflicted on others. Selfishness always ends with judgment. The selfish can expect to reap the fruits of what they have sown. You know, how you wanna hear that Trump was Gaza,
Yeah, you want to go, but that's what I'm
yeah, and go to resort here. How? How you gonna build a resort? Who you gonna have built? He just told the people they'll go away, don't come back to their land, right? Those same people you need to build. Like, make it make sense. Oh, you gonna build, then you can leave and come back.
You didn't do the union, so you're the ones that have the trades. The union goes, that's where the trades are.
Tough, like, that's.
But, you know, unfortunately, and you know, and all that's true, but like you said, where are you even going to put the people at? You know, but uh, but it's no different. It's no different than a regular thief or something on the street because they do not think in terms of consequences. They only think in terms of what's in it for me. They don't think of what's going to happen. They, you know, on the scale here, you don't think that everything that you do has an effect on anybody else in your household, and it does. Everything that you do has an effect on somebody else. And if you stop long enough to even consider the consequence, it would sometimes be enough to make you want to change your mind.
Right.
But these people are mindless. They don't care. And it has to happen, unfortunately. It has to happen before it's realized. Because nobody's thinking ahead. You know, and unfortunately as we go through this whole Black History Month, those who think ahead, something eventually happens to them. It's not on the grand scale. You know, where leaders get assassinated or things of that nature because nobody wants to think of the consequences. Nobody wants to think in terms. They think in long terms of how they can hold you back, but they don't think in long terms about what the effect of what they're doing is going to have on people. It's only what the effect is, what the benefit for me is going to be, and not what the effect of the people.
You know, when I was a deputy, I was a deputy sheriff in Harford County for 4 years. I didn't really like the job. I liked the money, but I didn't like the job. And the whole purpose was because every day I had to be there in jail because my job was inside the jail. That meant I was locked up. I was locked up too. And I thought about it, and it was just like, what Brother Whit was just saying, the things that they're doing, even though they're looking at, I like the money. So I was like, okay, I'll put up with just not wanting to get up in the morning to even go and get through the day because I know I got a check coming at the week or whatever. But what's the side effect of that? You know, for years having to jump up in the middle of the night. Sometimes when I'm stressed, I still do because it was a post-traumatic stress attached to that. You know, but it's like you don't think about what the long-term outcome. Because if you're in prison and you got somebody locked up and you actually are the one to keep them in cage, You got the keys, you have to stay here to watch them. So while you got them locked up, you locked up too. But you don't think about it like that, right?
You got to watch them. You're responsible for them. You got to make sure you're responsible for their well-being. You got to make sure that they don't do harm to themselves.
But in order for you to do that, you have to change your mind to think like that.
Mhm.
So now you like all of it, like you get right. So you have to think like a criminal, and that's the part I didn't like, because when the sheriff and all of my superiors will call me in the office because I was just happy-go-lucky. They would say, well, when you come through the door, you have to change your whole disposition and literally become something, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Like treating people, I just couldn't do it. I did it for 4 years, but it was miserable because you have got to think like the people you're trying to oppress. Even though you think you're free because you got all this stuff, you're luxurious, you can do your perfumes and all the stuff that the story was talking about. The truth of the matter is, when it's all said and done, just like you got people encaged and oppressed, you're still oppressed too with all your money and goods and stuff. You're oppressed. Probably worse than the people you're trying to oppress. Because if we do what Brother Wick said, where even in the midst of all that we're going through, because this is a form of oppression, a deep form of oppression, then we have to look out for ourselves and for each other and do what we can. We do more than them trying to do against us. We could do more for each other because it ain't gonna last for always. This ain't forever.
One of the things that I see most of, I used to work in a prison, real prison. So, like she said, when you go in, you're locked up with them. And one of the things I realized is when you're out there in this population, they're constantly thinking about what they can do, how they get out, plot and stuff. So there was one day he was in the prison and they let him out to eat, and somebody said something nasty to the cook. It was a lady. But where she messed up at, she gets smart about it with them. Don't do that. She serving grits. They took the grits and threw it on her. Oh, guess who they called that? They found out it was a cook. I don't want to do this. So one morning we come in, and it was about 6 of us there, 5 young brothers. And oh my God, these guys come in one day, boy, and they jumped one of the guys that was behind the counter. I'm like, no, you're in my space now. So, but what we did, Brother Will, when we were not working at the time, we would get together when we were off. We said, if something jumps off, he over there, we gonna do this here. Because we know they're gonna do it. And they did it. And we must have knocked out 15 of them. Boy, come on. We didn't blow no whistle, nothing. Do you know they wanted to prosecute us? And they asked us what happened. One thing that they taught us, they'll send you to the police academy. They'll teach you everything to do. And when they interrogate you and pull you in the office and everything, you know what you say? I had to restrain you. That's all you got to say. Don't tell them you hit them, because they'll lock you up. You're doing right. I had to restrain you. And let me tell you something. Some of these people got out in the street, walking the street. And I was walking down the street one day. Hey, good job. They run over, backstab me, they go over and hit me and everything. And they said, hey, don't touch him. Let me tell you something. I was in church, I was saved, but I'll fight back. You know what I mean? Jesus, help me to hit one of them right. You got to stand up for what you believe in. I'm telling you, it's a lot of nonsense and stuff in here. But sometimes, you got to fight for this.
And that's what it is.
And you're not doing it on purpose, Brother Wick, but you got to stand up for what you believe in. There's people, the devil is going to try you, going to do stuff, but if you don't stand up, they keep coming back to this nonsense. And you know what? I said, I had enough. That job paid good. Brother Wick, when they give you, they don't give you raises, they give you bonus. They start you with $5,000 to 15 and $20,000. Depend on if you come to work all the time, you call out. And they give you a separate check. This is back then. That money was good.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not worth your.
But now guards are getting killed,
But
getting stabbed.
yeah, you can't, you gotta, you really do, you have to, we preached about it today, when we talked about the whole armor, and I'm sure that the Lord gave you that, because that's, we literally have to, put on a full armor, and it doesn't require like that physical combat thing, but the spiritual fight and warfare is just as intense, if not more, than the natural. And it's just time for us to stand. We have to stand. We have to stand. And we have to stand united. Because don't forget, we're the United States of America. And now they touching, they're not just messing with just the people that down here, if you would, when they shut that system down, they understood the impact, because it's like you got kids in the mechanic shop, and they're just pulling levers and pushing things, just trying, but they don't know. And so you shut down the whole system, and with the job that I work, they couldn't even bill for the services. And this is a service that's going on all of, like, you got somebody coming to admissions that need to actually go to the insurance company to get paid to have them in our facility, and they go into the computer system, and they're it's locked out. And that's just the Medicare system. Everything was shut down. And then when people started, we realized what was going on, and everybody raised their voices. And of course, we got our politicians. I ended up calling my state rep the other day. I'm not living in this area no more, but I'm active in the political thing when it comes time to vote and stuff. So I called Jerry Salome, he's my state rep up in the Northeast, and then he gave me who my state rep is down in Devon, because I need to get connected. Because just like Brother was said, we have to put pen to paper. We voted certain people in office. Those Congress, they trying.
Right.
It's the Democrats that's not moving, because they're the ones that's actually in opposition. But they were voted in too. So you write to the person that you voted for, and like, listen, I'm not liking this. I don't like them going into my husband's Social Security that he worked for, and we go to pay our bills at the beginning of the month. But Elon decided he wanted to go and review. I know they might not even be, so they say, not thinking about those of us that down here on the ground. If they got access to all of our information,
Right.
they don't know. They don't. How they going to say that they're not considering us? They don't know what they're doing with the information.
Right, and how did, and then they went in and closed up the USA.
Yeah, and they were providing food for those and medicines, and this has been going. Yeah.
Stuff that comes out of his mouth just doesn't make any sense.
So yeah, that's why we said, but God is our provider. But this is fighting times, and we have to fight the way that we've been instructed. We got to put on our whole armor, and we have to use this. We have tools that we fight with. Got the sword of the spirit. We have to use it.
We're going to read the liberating lesson, and then after acclamation, we're going to wrap this up. Liberating lesson. In many places around the world, people are living in undeserved and impoverished areas. They are suffering from lack of clean water, fresh produce, safe living conditions, and other resources that affect their everyday lives. There is not an equal distribution of wealth in our world. The powerful will continue to get rich, while the poor and working class will continue to suffer. The issue with wealth that is mentioned in this text is not the possession of wealth, but the dangers of being selfish, prideful, and sinful in the ways we use it. If we choose to ignore the injustices of the poor and needy, then we are at risk of God's punishment. Application for activation. We are tempted to ignore injustice when we are wealthy and comfortable. To combat this tendency, we can show solidarity with those who are disadvantaged. As a class, make a commitment to eat only one meal a day as an act of solidarity with those who live in hunger. While you are doing that, research ways in which you as a class can help fight global hunger. You can find many resources for this at the Bread for the World website. And then they have the website here. Anybody have anything else to say? If not, I'm going to ask Elder John to close us out in prayer. all for your participation. If anybody have any offer for Sunday school, I will collect it. See y'all back next. I might watch some. I'm not going to use it football. But I used to be watching that. That's probably when I get my book. Oh, okay. In between, off and on. Okay.